Have you ever felt like your mind never truly stops moving, even when your body is completely still? Even in moments that should feel quiet, there is a constant current of thought running beneath everything, replaying conversations, imagining outcomes, questioning meanings that don't need answers. You tell yourself to relax, to be present, to just let the moment pass, but the mind doesn't listen. It keeps scanning, analyzing, predicting, as if silence itself were something to be solved. You don't just think about life. You think about the fact that you rethinking, watching your own thoughts stack endlessly on top of one another. You notice how easily others seem to exist. They laugh without hesitation, speak without second-guessing, live without dissecting every feeling as it happens. And you wonder what that must feel like, to experience life directly, without standing outside yourself observing it. For you, presence feels slippery. Every moment is filtered through interpretation, every emotion questioned before it's allowed to land. Your inner world is loud, crowded with unfinished thoughts and quiet worries that never fully leave. You ask yourself the same questions again and again. Why can't I just be here? Why does my mind never rest? Why does even peace feel temporary, like something that must be analyzed before it disappears? If these questions feel familiar, if this restlessness feels like home, then what you're experiencing isn't weakness, and it isn't failure. It's the mark of a mind that never learned how to turn itself off, a mind that has been awake for far longer than it knows how to rest. At first, this constant awareness feels like a gift. You notice things others overlook, subtle changes in tone, hidden meanings behind simple words, the emotional undercurrent in a room before anyone speaks. Your mind connects patterns effortlessly, linking past experiences to present moments, turning ordinary events into something rich with meaning. People may even admire this about you. They call you insightful, thoughtful, emotionally intelligent. They come to you for advice, for understanding, for clarity when their own thoughts feel tangled. But beneath that clarity is a quiet weight. Because the more you see, the harder it becomes to live lightly. Nothing is ever simple anymore. A smile becomes a question. A silence becomes a story. A goodbye becomes something you replay in your mind long after it's over. While others move on, you stay behind, thinking, feeling, searching for what might have been missed. Your awareness doesn't switch off when the moment ends. It follows you, lingering, expanding, asking for more attention than you can give. You begin to realize that this depth is both your strength and your burden. Understanding brings insight, but it also creates distance. You crave connection, yet you analyze it until it feels fragile. You want closeness, yet you anticipate loss before it arrives. It's not that you don't want to feel. It's that you feel so deeply that you afraid of what it might cost. Somewhere along the way, awareness stopped being curiosity and became protection, a way of staying one step ahead of pain. And so you live in a strange in-between state. Too aware to be careless, too thoughtful to be free. You see the world clearly, but that clarity comes with loneliness. Because when you notice everything, when nothing escapes your attention, belonging no longer feels effortless. It feels like something you must understand before you're allowed to experience it. No one is born overthinking. This kind of depth doesn't appear out of nowhere. It forms quietly, often long before you have the words to describe it. It begins in moments of silence, in rooms where something fell off but was never explained. A child sitting still, listening closely, not because they are curious, but because they are trying to understand what kind of world they are in. Voices rise behind closed doors. Affection feels inconsistent. Safety feels uncertain. And so the child learns to watch instead of react. Before you learned how to name emotions, you learned how to read them. A shift in tone. A pause that lasted too long. A look that meant today was not the day to ask for comfort. You may not remember the exact moments, but your nervous system does. It learned that awareness meant safety. That paying attention could help you predict what was coming next. And so your mind became alert, scanning constantly, not out of intelligence, but out of instinct. Psychology calls this hypervigilance, the brain's survival response when unpredictability becomes normal. The mind stretches itself early, learning to notice patterns, moods, emotional weather. You became the quiet one, the observer, the child who didn't cause trouble, who understood without being told, who adapted instead of asking. Not because you were mature, but because you had to be. Thinking became a way to stay protected in a world that didn't always feel stable. Slowly, almost invisibly, thought replaced feeling. Emotions became something to manage instead of experience. You learned to make sense of discomfort rather than express it. And over time, this habit solidified. Your mind became your refuge, a place where things could be analyzed, organized, controlled. While other children played freely, you were already forming theories about people. Why they changed, why they hurt each other, why love felt unreliable. That child carried more awareness than their body could hold, so they tucked it away inside their thoughts. Silence became armor, observation became identity, and the world mistook your stillness for calm, never seeing the constant movement beneath it. That was the beginning of a mind that never learned how to rest, not because it didn't want to, but because rest once felt unsafe. That child eventually grows up, but the mind they built in silence comes with them. What once protected you slowly becomes who you are. You don't just think deeply, you are the thinker. You wear your awareness like a second skin, polished and composed, always observing, always understanding. People admire this about you. They say you're insightful, emotionally intelligent, wise beyond your years. They come to you when they're confused, when they need meaning, when they want someone who can explain the chaos of their lives. And you can. You know how to trace pain back to its origins, how to connect behavior to wounds, how to make sense of what others don't want to feel. But beneath that clarity lives exhaustion, the fatigue of always being the one who understands. When something hurts you, you don't react the way others do. You don't explode. You don't fall apart. You analyze. You explain their behavior to yourself. You tell yourself they were afraid, insecure, unaware. You turn pain into insight because insight feels safer than vulnerability. And in doing so, you quietly deny yourself the right to feel hurt. Understanding becomes a way of avoiding the rawness of emotion. Empathy, once your gift, becomes a shield, a way to stay composed while something inside you tightens and goes unnamed. Psychologists call this cognitive avoidance, the mind's way of staying in control by staying busy. By thinking, interpreting, and predicting, you avoid the uncertainty of simply feeling. You prepare for disappointment before it arrives. You anticipate rejection before connection has time to grow. It doesn't feel like fear. It feels like wisdom, but it's self-defense wearing the mask of insight. You read people so well that you start writing endings before the story has begun. And so you live slightly removed from your own life. Always present, but never fully immersed. Always aware, but rarely at rest. You stand one step outside your experiences, watching them unfold through the lens of reason. Love becomes something you study. Happiness becomes something you question. Even peace feels suspicious, as if it won't last unless you understand it first. The mind that once kept you safe now keeps you distant, guarding you from pain, but also from surrender. There is a reason your mind feels like it never powers down, even when you desperately want it to. Neuroscience offers a name for it, but not a judgment. Deep thinkers tend to have a highly active default mode network, the part of the brain responsible for self-reflection, memory, imagination, and meaning-making. For most people, this network quiets when they rest. For you, it stays awake, looping gently but endlessly, revisiting moments, reinterpreting conversations, searching for connections others never notice. You don't simply experience life as it happens. You process it long after it's gone, weaving each moment into a larger internal story. Your mind isn't linear. It's webbed. One thought pulls another with it. One feeling branches into 10 others. Memory, imagination, and emotion bleed into one another until past, present, and future exist all at once inside your head. This is where creativity is born. Intuition, art, philosophy, but it's also where overstimulation begins. Because your brain doesn't just register the world, it absorbs it. You feel the emotional temperature of a room. You sense tension before words are spoken. You carry other people's moods as if they were your own. Research shows that heightened empathy and mirror neuron activity makes some minds exceptionally sensitive, tuned in at a frequency others don't hear. And that constant tuning comes at a cost. When awareness has nowhere to rest, it turns inward. Reflection slowly becomes rumination. What once felt like insight begins to feel like weight. Your thoughts no longer guide you, they surround you. At night, when your body finally stops moving, your mind becomes louder. It replays things you wish you had said differently, futures that never happened, mistakes that exist only in imagination. You chase understanding, believing it will bring peace, but each answer opens another question. Carl Jung called this the shadow, the part of the self that grows stronger the more it is ignored. For deep thinkers, the shadow isn't chaos. It's thought itself, brilliance folded in on itself until it becomes unbearable. You start to wonder if your depth is a gift or a trap. You see meaning everywhere, but peace nowhere. Conversations feel shallow. Laughter feels temporary. Connection feels fragile, conditional, as if it might collapse under too much awareness. You envy those who can simply exist without needing to understand why. To them, the world just is. To you, the world must always mean. And in chasing meaning, you begin to lose touch with life as it's happening. This inner struggle doesn't exist in isolation. It's amplified by the world around you. We live in an age that rewards speed, certainty, and distraction. Attention is fragmented. Silence feels uncomfortable. Depth feels inconvenient. The modern world moves fast, talks loud, scrolls endlessly, and rarely pauses long enough to feel anything fully. For a deep thinker, this pace feels suffocating. Your mind moves slowly, carefully, searching for understanding in a culture addicted to noise. You hesitate where others rush. You question where others accept. And so you learn to hide parts of yourself, to soften your thoughts, dilute your depth, pretend you don't see what you see, just to fit into a world that mistakes numbness for maturity. And yet, you don't stop noticing. You never stop noticing. The forced smile that doesn't reach someone's eyes. The slight tremble in a voice that says, "I'm fine." The quiet sadness sitting beneath everyday interactions. You absorb it all. Psychologists call this empathy fatigue, the exhaustion that comes from caring too deeply for too long. Your nervous system stays slightly activated, interpreting every emotional signal as something that needs attention. You function, you smile, but inside, there's a constant low-level strain, like you're always bracing for something unnamed. Eventually, the mind grows tired, not broken, not defeated, just weary of its own noise. You begin to sense that no amount of thinking has given you the peace you were searching for. You've analyzed every feeling, every silence, every wound. And still, something feels unresolved. That's when a quiet realization begins to form. Not everything is meant to be understood. Some things are meant to be felt. Healing for a deep thinker doesn't come from thinking more. It comes from learning how to stop believing every thought. Neuroscience calls this neuroplasticity, the brain's ability to reshape itself through awareness and practice. The same mind that learned to stay alert can learn how to soften, not by silencing thought, but by changing your relationship to it. You begin to notice thoughts without drowning in them. You let them pass without chasing them. You return to the body, the breath, the warmth of your hands, the simple reality of being here. This is embodiment, the shift from living in your head to inhabiting your life. You start grounding yourself in small, ordinary moments, sunlight on your skin, the rhythm of walking, the sound of your own breathing. You stop letting every problem take residence in your mind. You ask a gentler question now. Does this thought serve me, or does it drain me? You begin to create instead of ruminate, to write, to move, to express without needing to explain. Connection becomes less about analysis and more about presence. Sitting with someone without decoding them. Sharing silence without filling it. Slowly, something loosens. You realize that being a deep thinker was never the problem. The problem was believing that depth required suffering. You were never too much. You were simply too awake in a world that numbs itself to survive. There comes a moment, after all the questions, after the restless nights and relentless analysis, when the mind doesn't collapse or give up. It simply grows tired. Not defeated, not broken, just tired of carrying its own weight. You begin to notice that all your searching, all your thinking, has been a long journey in circles. You've read every map, followed every theory, chased every explanation, and still the peace you were looking for never lived in the answers. It was always waiting in the stillness beneath them. You start to see that your thoughts have been both your compass and your cage. They guided you through confusion when nothing else could, but they also kept you trapped inside constant interpretation. Every answer opened another question. Every realization revealed another layer. The mind's hunger for certainty is endless, and somewhere along the way, you realize that certainty was never the thing you needed. Awareness was. Not the awareness that dissects life, but the awareness that allows it. Neuroscience can measure brain activity, networks, and patterns, but beneath all of that thinking lies something quieter, the space in which thought appears and disappears. The observer behind every question you've ever asked. Philosophers have pointed to this for centuries. Jung called it integration. Alan Watts spoke of the moment you realize that the mind was never meant to lead forever. That thinking is a tool, not a home. The paradox is that true intelligence isn't found in endless analysis, but in knowing when to stop. And so you begin to trade complexity for clarity, noise for nuance, explanation for experience. You no longer feel the need to interpret every silence, decode every emotion, or turn every mystery into language. You sit with life as it is, unedited, unfinished, and still enough. You feel the world again instead of thinking it to death. You breathe, not to calm the mind, but to remember that you are something larger than it. This is not the end of thinking. It's the end of being ruled by it. Your depth doesn't disappear. It softens. It becomes something you can enter and leave, instead of something you're trapped inside. You still see deeply. You still feel deeply. But now, you're grounded enough to let life touch you without needing to understand it first. And in that quiet space, beneath all the noise and meaning and questions, you finally hear it. The truth that was never hidden, only drowned out. You were never meant to think your way to peace. You were only meant to remember that, underneath it all, you already are. If this resonated with you, take a moment to like the video and subscribe to the channel. More reflections like this are on the way.